In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this cat logo using the Pathfinder feature of Illustrator. So this is what the finished product will look like, and of course everyone's will look slightly different depending on how you draw it and the colors and the stroke that you put on it. So I'm going to close this, and the first thing that I'm going to do is create a new print document, and I'm going to title it Pathfinder Cat, and then put your name on it. And double check that the size is set to letter and click OK. So if you're following along on the handout, I'm on number 3. So I need to set the fill to none. The fill is located in several different places. It's up here on the main menu bar. It's the first one. So I can click this menu open and select none, which is the white square with the red line through it. Another place that I can access that is down here in the toolbox. So if I click to bring the fill forward, you can see that it's set to none here. I can change that down here at the bottom if I need to. And I'm going to leave the stroke set to black and the size set to 1, which is the default. Alright, so number 4 on the handout, always check to make sure that the stroke and effects preference is enabled. And that's located under Edit, Preferences, General, and it's this little check mark right here. So double check and make sure that that does have a check mark next to it. What that means is when you're changing the size of your objects as you create your drawing, it will automatically keep them proportionate to each other. Okay, so moving on to step number 5, the first thing that we're going to do is grab the ellipse tool, which is grouped together with all of the shape tools here in our toolbox. So I'm going to click and hold on the rectangle tool and grab the third one down, which is the ellipse. So I'm simply going to click and drag to draw the main shape of the cat's face, something like that. To deselect this shape, on your keyboard, hit Control-Shift-A, and there's several other ways that you can deselect too. Next thing that I'm going to do is make the eyes. So number 7 on the handout, I'm going to again use the ellipse tool and draw a small circle. I'm going to hold down Shift while I draw so that I can constrain it to be a circle instead of an ellipse. And then I'm just going to copy that. So Control-C, Control-V, and use the selection tool, which is the black arrow, and overlap these. So it's this part right here that I want to look like the cat's eye. So I'm going to move that around until I think it looks good. Again, with the selection tool, the black arrow, I have the first circle selected, so I'm going to hold down Shift and select the second circle. Now I'm going to use the Pathfinder panel. The Pathfinder panel is not a default over here on the side, so usually you have to go and find it under Window. So Window, Pathfinder. So here is the Pathfinder panel, and I'll close these other ones because I don't need them. And I'm going to click the button which says Intersect. So it took those 2 circles and kept only the part where they intersected. So now I'm going to copy and rotate this eye quickly and easily by using the Object, Transform, Reflect. And I'm going to scoot this out of the way so that we can see what we're doing. So I have vertical selected, 90-degree angle, and I'm going to look at a preview. And you can see that it flips the eye going the other direction. And if I click Copy, it actually made a copy of that. So I'm going to move the eyes approximately where I think they look good and move on to the nose. So let's see. Number 12. I'm going to turn on Smart Guides and Show Grid to help me draw the shapes so that I can make sure that they're proportionate and they're nice and straight. So on the main menu, I'm going to go to View, Smart Guides, and they're already turned on. And I'm going to go to View, Show Grid. So you don't have to use the grid if you don't want to, but if you want to make a straight line, it can be really helpful. I'm going to use the magnifying glass for a minute and make this a little bit larger so that I can see what I'm doing. Alright, also number 12, choose the pin tool and click to create an anchor point, and I'm just going to continue clicking to make a nose. That's a triangle. And you can see now that I have the Smart Guides on, I'm getting these little green words that are popping up, so I can tell when I'm in the center of this line because I get this green line that pops up. So let's see here, and I'm going to click the beginning point and the end point to make this a complete shape. So I am now going to go back to the ellipse tool and hold down Shift on the keyboard and draw a circle, and then I'm going to take the black arrow, which is the selection tool, and I'm going to move that so that it intersects with the triangle approximately where I need it. Now I'm going to, with the selection tool, click the triangle, hold down Shift, and click the circle. Then in the Pathfinder panel, I am going to again click Intersect Shape, and you can see that that neatly rounded off the top of that triangle, and it looks like a cat nose. I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to hold down Shift and use only the corner and draw so the nose is slightly larger, right about there. Okay, now I'm going to start making the ears. So I am on number 17. With the ellipse tool selected, I'm going to hold down Shift and draw a little circle to be the tip of the ear. And you don't have to worry that it's in the right place right now because you can move it after you're finished drawing it. I'm going to get the line segment tool, which is just above the ellipse tool, and click on it. And I'm going to hover the cursor. Actually, I'm going to enlarge this so that you can see it better. So watch what happens when I move the cursor. I get this little word that pops up that says anchor point. So I know that right now if I click, I'm going to be clicking on one of the anchor points of the circle, which is what I want. So I'm going to click and drag, and while I'm dragging, I'm going to hold down Shift so that I get a straight line. I can't tell if this is going to be long enough because I have it really magnified. So that's probably a little bit longer than I need, but that's okay. Now, I'm on number 19. I'm going to go to the other side of the circle and hover the cursor around until I see the word path. Click and drag the other side of my ear. And then switch to the direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, and I'm going to click the very tip of this line so that only that anchor point is selected. I'm going to hold down Shift and click the anchor point on the end of this line. Now that those 2 points are selected, up here on my main menu bar, I'm going to click the Connect Line Segment Endpoints. And so I have 3 sides of the ear and a circle at the top. So I'm going to hold down Shift and select the circle, and in the Pathfinder panel I am going to click, let's see, that is number 21, the Unite button, which is the first one. So you can see I now have this little ear drawn, and I need to rotate it a little bit. So that's number 23. I'm going to click the selection tool and hover the cursor over the side of the box, and then I can just click and drag, and I'm going to put this into place. I could make this larger or smaller if I wanted to, if I didn't think it was proportionate, just by clicking and dragging or holding down shift and clicking and dragging it here if I thought the ears were too big or too small. Okay, so I think this looks pretty good right here. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the eyes. To make another copy, I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect, and click Copy. So now I have two ears. I'm just going to use the arrow key to move this ear over to the other side of the cat in approximately the same spot. That looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is use the Pathfinder panel to connect the two ears and the head together. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and I have the selection tool, the black arrow, selected. So I have the two ears, and holding down Shift I'm going to get the head. And now in the Pathfinder panel I am going to choose, let's see, make sure I choose the right one, Unite, which is the first button. And you have to do this in the right order, otherwise it will mess up your project and you might have to start over again. So be careful when you get to that point. I think I'm going to move the eyes up a little bit and move the nose down a little bit to make it look a little more realistic. Okay, so now I'm going to click the face and hold down Shift and click the eyes and click the nose. And for the last time we use the Pathfinder panel, we need to use Exclude. So I'm on number 27, and Exclude is the fourth button over on the top row. So what that's done is it's made this all one shape. So instead of being four separate shapes, it's combined them all together. So now all I need to do is add on the finishing touches. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I like the rounded rectangle tool to make a background for this, and I'm going to draw over the top of it and then use my fill, and there's not really enough colors on there for me. I want more options, so what I'm going to do is go over to Swatches and go to Open Swatch Library, Color Books, and choose True Match. So now I have lots and lots of colors to choose from. So let's see, I'll make a green background. So I'm going to click green here, and you'll see that I copied over the top of my cat because the rectangle is drawn over the top of the cat. So what I'm going to do is switch to the selection tool and right click, go to Arrange, and Send to Back. Great. So for now I'm going to, in my toolbox, bring the stroke forward, and I'm going to make that maybe a darker value of green. And I'm going to make it much larger. Let's see, how about that? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to get the cat, and I'm going to make the fill active, and red and green are complementary colors, so I'm going to do a reddish color for the cat. Whoa, okay, how about that? And right now it has a black line around it, so for the stroke I'm going to choose a different color. So let's make the stroke active, and I don't know what's going to look good. Let's try a light red color. Whoops, I don't have it selected, so let's try that again. And I'm going to make the size larger. And now what I'm going to do is play around a little bit with the types of strokes that I can put on this. So with the cat selected, I'm going to open the different brushes. I'm going to tear that panel off so that we can see it. I'm going to open the brush library by clicking on this little menu here, and I'm going to choose artistic brushes. Let's go with paintbrush. So I have all of these options, and I can click on them, and that's actually pretty interesting. And click on different ones until I find one that looks pretty good. I think that looks good. And maybe I'll change this stroke too to something a little more interesting. Yeah, something like that. So that is the finished cat logo. Save your changes and make sure that you get it saved into the correct folder so that you get credit. And that's it for now.